Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hope you guys enjoyed the morning sessions and the keynote. My name is Marissa Kamisugi. I am an account manager here at Databricks. And actually, fun fact, this is my first Data and AI Summit. Any of you first-time Data and AI Summit goers, little poll, throw the hands up. Nice. Well, welcome. We're all in the same boat. For those of you who it's, been a second or third, can we get a little hands up, a little cheer? Good job, you guys. Well, thank you all for the newcomers as well as the individuals that have been to Data and AI Summit before. Welcome and happy last day of the summit. Today we're really excited because we have the Lippert team as well as the Hypertherm Associates team here to speak. First off, we'll kick it off with Narasimhan Krishnan here. Little round of applause for Narasimhan. And he will be speaking, gotta pause. But he will be speaking about automating order entry using AI. Fun fact that I also learned, aside from being a first-time Data and AI Summit goer, is that their company specifically works with plasma, water jet, and laser cutting tools. So if you think of like, hey, any of you had a steak or a piece of meat over the course of Summit, what they're able to do is use water jets to be able to cut through that. And one of many examples, you also said you use it for like masks and like diapers and everything in between. So if any of you have a use case for that, definitely talk to him after. But without further ado, Narasimhan, thank you so much for having us, or for being here. And he is the Director of AI Analytics and Automation. So a round of applause for him.
Thank you, Marissa. All right, welcome everyone. So thank you for choosing to spend your valuable time with us. I am Narasimhan. I lead the AI Analytics and Automation team at Hypertherm. My colleague, Brian Cavanaugh, he has contributed a lot towards this use case. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us, so I'm all you got. To show the forward-looking statement, you've seen this multiple times. Okay. My main objective today is to answer this question. Can generative AI meaningfully impact and influence your business process? We've all struggled with this question since GenAI took off in the fall of 2022. But before we get there, a quick little intro about Hypertherm. Who we are, what we make, and who do we sell to. So Hypertherm provides advanced cutting and shaping technology to our customers. And our customers include shipbuilding, construction, defense, car manufacturing, and oil and gas. Those are some of the notable ones. But as you can see, we do serve a huge customer base. And what do we make? So we make cutting tools that use either plasma, water jet, or laser technology. And we also write the CNC software that goes with these systems. Hypertherm has been in business since 1968. Hypertherm is 100% associate-owned, hence the name Hypertherm Associates. Hypertherm has over 1,200 patents in the cutting and gouging space. And even though Hypertherm is a mid-sized organization, the customer base is global. And we do business in 93 countries. So that's Hypertherm in a nutshell. Now let's jump in. What is the problem we are trying to solve here? So as part of an internal effort to optimize, we asked our sales support team, what is your biggest pain point? And their response, manually keying in orders. So we didn't quite understand how bad it was until we did some analysis. So shout out to Genie Spaces. After we did our internal analysis, we found out that in 2022 alone, our sales support team received 240,000 orders. And of those, 70% of the orders were entered manually. And when we took a look at this, we were, okay, that's Yeah, why didn't you talk to us before? And with all the GenAI revolution happening, we thought this is a great opportunity. And then we asked them, what is the definition of success? And they said, OK, if we are able to automate order entry, then we can move more associates into inside sales. And we were like, OK, what is inside sales? So sales support team typically helps with getting the orders into our system. And then inside sales is the team that facilitates getting more sales. So if you think about it, it's beneficial both for the associates who are mindlessly entering these orders, and it also helps the company get more sales. So that was the business case. So we don't often get such straightforward business cases, so we were really glad. OK, there is no confusion here. And then what is our strategy? So our strategy, we basically took all of our customers and put them into 3 buckets based on order volume. So the first bucket is for larger partners. So typically, that's about 10,000 plus orders a year. And we said, OK, if you have more than 10,000 orders, let's do EDI, because that has other downstream automation opportunities. Like we can automate order acknowledgements, advanced shipment notice, invoicing, all of that. And then for smaller partners, which is typically like 1 or 2 orders a day, we nudge them towards using a self-service portal. And we were still left with this big middle chunk. And we categorized them as mid-sized partners. So these are partners who still have order volumes in the thousands, but they're not big enough to have their own IT team that can facilitate EDI. So that's where GenAI comes in. So this is a very high-level architecture of our solution. So the beauty of this solution is it's really simple, right? So the PDFs land in our inbox, and then we move them to Azure Data Lake storage, and then we use LLM to prepare an XML that's then sent to our ERP system for creating an order. So as you saw, the solution is really simple, but it wasn't as simple when we started. So it took us a few iterations to get there. So first, we started with Microsoft's generic form recognizer. And the form recognizer wasn't very accurate for what we were trying to accomplish. Then we discovered that, oh, if you use a custom model and train it ourselves, then we were getting better accuracy. So we thought, OK, this is great. But at the same time, every time we had to onboard a new customer, we had to train that model. So while this was going on, we also had a lot of trouble extracting address information. So what that means is, like if you take the US addresses versus European addresses, they look different. So when we were trying to get like street name, city, state, province, it was getting really complex. So then we started experimenting with LLMs. So we would take the address block, send it to the LLM, and ask questions about, hey, give me the street name, give me the state, give me the province. And the results were amazing. So we thought, if that works, then why not do this for the whole PO? And when we did that, we were amazed. And after several iterations, now we are at about 97% accuracy. So we took that, and we were like, OK, if we can do this, then we can not only avoid training custom models every time we wanted to onboard a new customer, and we could also process POs in multiple languages, no problem. And this is where we landed. So basically, PDF files land in our sales support inbox, and then we use Microsoft's Power Automate flows that take that and put it into our Azure Data Lake storage. And once we put it into ADLS, then Databricks scheduled jobs then pick it up for processing, and then we use LLMs to generate the XML. That's then sent to our ERP system to create the order. So if you're a Databricks customer, you're familiar with the medallion architecture. So in the medallion architecture, we use structured streaming to inform each layer as to what data is available for processing. And once we get the PDFs, we use the bronze layer to extract the PDF text and store it in the bronze tables. And then we ask a bunch of questions to the LLM about the text, and then the responses are recorded in the silver table. And then in the gold layer, we have some customer-specific logic. Like, for example, some customers would send part numbers prefixed with a letter. So then we would take that and say, OK, if it's this customer, then remove the prefix, and what's left is your part number. So that type of customer-specific logic is in the gold layer. So if you're talking about LLMs, we can't not talk about prompt engineering. So in our scenario, for getting the header information, we ping the LLMs 4 times. And then for the line information, we ping the LLM twice, of which one of them is just asking the LLM how many lines are in the PO. But once we get the line count, then we switch between a higher capacity LLM if the number of lines in the PO is more than 40 lines. And then after we get the responses, all the questions and answers are logged and tagged appropriately. OK, so we didn't get here without challenges, right? We had some challenges. So I've just highlighted some of the bigger challenges we experienced. So the first one you see is exception handling, right? Like with any project, you need to be able to anticipate how this can fail and put in guardrails for that. And then we also had hallucinations because sometimes when the customer sends the PO, there is some missing information, and then the LLM would just start making up stuff. Hey, it should be this, or it should be that. So then we had to put guardrails for that as well. And then some of the other issues we had was communication, because when stuff fails, we still have to figure out, OK, if it's this type of failure, who should we communicate? How should we communicate? All right, so bringing it all back, this is where we started, right? Can generative AI meaningfully impact and influence your business process? And the results speak for itself. So in 2022, we were at 30% automation. We were able to get it up to 52% in 2024. We processed over 100,000 orders without human intervention. So that translates to 4 associates being able to transition to inside sales from sales support. So I want to leave you guys with this. Yes, the bottom line is important. But when you're using AI, it doesn't have to be all about the bottom line. So if you think about the quality of life of these associates, they went from entering orders mindlessly and not having the job satisfaction, and then moving into a role that's more fulfilling. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And then I know we have the wonderful Lippert team going after me. So I've put my LinkedIn profile here. So if you guys have any questions about the solution, please reach out. I'll be more than happy to respond to your answers. All right, thank you.
All right, so we're going to kick off part 2 of the series here. And I'm excited to kick off this session, which is titled Transforming Customer Care with GenAI. So my name is Alex Linke, and I'm the Databricks Solution Architect. And I've been working with Lippert for the past couple years now. And they're truly a company who's embraced innovation in the way that they serve their customers. And that's really what the crux of the conversation is going to be today. And so, like I said, I've been alongside them, throughout their journey for the past couple of years. It's been absolutely fantastic, and it's just been really inspiring on how they're operationalizing GenAI, and their team is focused on real business outcomes. And we're going to talk about what those real business outcomes are today. So you'll hear from two key drivers behind the whole story, Kenan Colson, the VP of Data and AI, and Chris Nishnick, the Director of AI. So with that, please welcome Kenan and Chris, and here's to a great session.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. We are going to keep things casual today, so if you have any questions, please feel free and stop us and ask along the way. Like Alex said, I'm Kenan Colson, the VP of Data and AI at Lippert. This is Chris Nishnick. He's the Director of AI. Lippert is it keeps flashing. Lippert is a highly engineered product manufacturing company that is primarily supplies the RV and the marine industries. Of course, you can see on the chart up there that we do supply other industries, but RV and marine is our bread and butter. About 2 years ago, we started our AI journey, and we started that by going on like a 2-month, what we'll call an AI roadshow journey. We went out, we talked to almost every part of the business, and if you guys haven't been out into the business and talked to them about their struggles, you really should get out there. We thought we knew what we were doing. We thought we knew what the business needed. We couldn't have been further wrong.
Right.
It was amazing. But we were also able to educate and get people up to speed on the safe use of AI. Let's not use business proprietary information with ChatGPT and things like that, as well as really dig into, what their problems were. After that 2 months, we came back. We had too much work, way too much. Our list is a mile long still. So we got to work writing up all the project charters and the ROI, and then we took all that to our C-suite and told them, let's narrow this down to the top 5. So we have those, and we've been working on those. Of course, the customer care center rose to the top, and I'll get into the why. So yes, RV manufacturing, we are a parts supplier for the entire RV industry. We do not actually build an RV, but we supply 95% of the content that goes into that RV. So not only, unlike automotive, who they build for one brand, we build for hundreds of brands. So you can't imagine the breadth of our products. So our care center has to take those calls. They have to be product experts on everything. They take about 1 million calls a year, and again, it's a call center. The churn in there is great, and it takes 6 months to a year to onboard a new agent within the specific product lines. So our use case is that knowledge assistant that is going to sit sidecar by them and help them while they're on the phones.
Right. So just like Kenan, so one thing that we should probably bring up is, if you remember during the pandemic, there's a lot of people that didn't go on vacations, and what do? They went out and bought RVs. So now we have a huge increase in RV owners, and on top of that, a huge increase in new RV owners. So now our call center was just getting slammed with this huge increase in calls. So this was one that we thought we could really focus on. Now, as you can see, we are only using it internally. As you guys have been hearing the last couple of days, we don't want to be the next story that's talked about where we make something external and some catastrophe happens. So, but we feel like, just based on what we've seen so far, it is making a huge impact just being used internal, just like Kenan said. It's basically, think of like a 10-year veteran that is sitting right next to someone, like say you just got hired, so you've only been there for 2 weeks. There's no way you're going to know all our product lines. There's just so many. So instead,
by the way, I do want to throw in, this is live in production. It's not vaporware. So, yeah, go on, sorry.
So basically, that was the genesis of this idea. Like, we can't have something external. Well, let's do something internal so we can get this. So we had to start out with certain product lines. We wanted to make, kind of baby step this out. So we focused on one specific product line, and then we've been expanding. So, and we actually learned, so that's part of this talk, is we learned a lot along the way. It started out as a really good research assistant, and it still is a really good research assistant. As you can see, it uses our product manuals. It has an understanding of all our prior case history. And then we've moved on since then. It is now actually performing tasks for the care center agents too, which they love. So they can ask it to summarize a case for them, do case wrap up. We're just going to keep adding in. So again, the whole idea with this is let's help the care center agents do their jobs quicker on a day-to-day basis.
We also feel like as soon as we get really good at doing this internally and we know that information's correct, again, we're taking those 1 million calls a year, that once we can expose that externally with confidence, that we're going to deflect those calls coming in because now our dealers and OEMs will have access to that to help troubleshoot all our products.
And we probably should mention too is that
sorry.
I think the research shows that the average RV owner goes camping 20 days out of the year. It's just 20. So we have to make sure that those 20 days are actually spent camping and not dealing with some sort of issue. So it's paramount that our care center is able to quickly find out what the issue is and get them the answer. So we're hoping that this is going to be a big part of that.
Yep.
So we thought it would be helpful for this group. I love these types of talks, by the way, where I get to hear other customers what their experience is. So we kind of wanted to come from that place. So we did want to talk about some of the challenges that we faced while we were building this out. One of the very first things that we realized right off the bat is, what does good look like? We're a dev team. Once we had something built with the product manuals, yes, we could ask it questions and see the answer and maybe go back and look at the actual product manual to see if it answered it correctly. But we really needed to pull in the subject matter experts. And what we found is the subject matter experts are experts because they really know their jobs. Well, guess what? Everybody needs their time. So their time is super limited. We had a really tough time even trying to get some of them pulled in to help us with this. Once we did, one of the next challenges we ran into, we needed that ground truth evaluation set, something that helps us understand, is this AI agent answering questions correctly? What was it? I can't remember how many we got the first time we asked them.
It was 15 questions that we got when we asked them initially, and we're like, this isn't going to do it, guys. I think we were sitting at about 25% accuracy at that point in time, so we really needed to quickly ramp up the way that we did that. So Chris came up with a way to create the synthetic data before it wasn't a thing at Databricks. So keep going, sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
we're actually going to talk about that because that is really a cool part of this story. So we realized right off the bat that this really slowed down the projects. We'd get all excited. Everyone was like, wow, we actually have something that we built. We can ask it questions. It's getting responses back, but then it would just stall. It would stall because of the availability of the subject matter experts, or we didn't really know, what's a good answer. So those are and the last one, the confidence, that's also happened a lot. Mm-hmm. We would get it in front of just like a small group, and then once we expanded that group, we realized we didn't do enough evaluation, and then especially with the care center, if as soon as they get any sort of question that comes back, not good, then we just lost our confidence immediately.
Yeah, it was giving out pricing information at one point in time too. So like fine tuning was like a thing for a while. Next slide.
Yep. So actually, can you go one more? And
Go
we'll
ahead,
come
one
back.
more.
I think. So this is, I put this slide in here just so you guys can see. So I know there's a lot of new people in the room. If you guys are on your journey with building out AI agents, if you go back, I think it's March on the Databricks blog, they talk about going from pilot to production. What we're about to talk about is the evaluate agents part. This, I feel, was the most critical part. You would think it was the building of the agent. You would think that you can go back to the earlier slide. You would think that it was actually the building the AI agent. It was not. It was actually, once we built it, how can we make sure, evaluate it, make sure it's answering questions correctly. So that's where, as Kenan had alluded to, the synthetic data came into play. So Alex, who introduced us earlier, he did us a solid and got us hooked up with the product team. This is something brand new that they were actually trying out. And I could probably go back to my calendar and and tell you exactly when things dramatically change. It was then, because then we could start using synthetic data to create these Q&A pairs for us. So instead of asking the subject matter experts to come up with this, because honestly, it's really hard for them to come up with a question and then even harder to come up with the answer, we actually had AI do that for us. So we had to go through all the product manuals.
Yeah, so we took those million calls a year that we receive a year, and Chris had already transcribed them because we were pushing those call summaries back into Salesforce, is the application that they use. And so we took that along with the case notes, not just the call transcripts, and had it basically create some FAQs that the SMEs actually thought were really great questions. Some of they weren't even thinking of. So now we were at the point that we were giving them hundreds of questions to evaluate.
Right, that was a big game changer, because now we would have sessions where instead of sitting there and spending a lot of time and coming up with questions, instead the subject matter experts, we would just give them a list of like 50 questions, and they would go through, and it just rapidly accelerated from there. And like it said here, that also helped us not have to rely so much on the subject matter experts. We could start doing some of this on our own. And that's really through the evaluation part. So we could start really streamlining and quickly iterating over and over again, find the holes, and fix something, and then really get it the confidence factor up.
Nothing there.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen what the review app looks like, and this is probably not big enough for you to see, so this is what the review app was. And again, what we did is instead of having the subject matter experts come up with the questions, we pre-generated all of this for them. So you can see at the top is the question. So this is something that was pre-generated. And then you can see the response from our AI model on the left there. We basically, kind of like what you see with a lot of the chatbot-based models out there, we provide the response, and then we give the citations. And then on the right, so this is the interesting part. So we really asked the subject matter experts to help us with three things. One, right off the bat, is this a good question? Every once in a while, the AI would just come up with a crazy question, so we just had to make sure, yes, no. That was pretty simple. The second part there is the expected facts. So that is critical for us, because what that allows us to do is that's what the AI judges use to help us determine if that's a correct response or not. So basically what you're saying with those expected facts, instead of earlier on when we were working with Databricks on this, we were just using just a response in itself. And we were finding that the AI judges were having a really hard time saying something was correct or not, because just a little nuance in the response, maybe it thought it was incorrect, but it was actually correct. So the expected facts work much better, and the subject matter experts actually got that really well too. They could go in there and just really make minor tweaks. They remove something, add something, change something a little bit. So is this a good question? What are the expected facts? And then finally, thumbs up, thumbs down on whether the answer is correct or not.
Chris got it to a point here where initially we were having to block off time with those SMEs in 2-hour blocks, and that was a lot of time to take these agents off the phone, but we got it to a point where he was like preloading everything into the evaluation app, and they got so good at it that they were just doing it after hours. Then we would just, not after hours, but when they weren't super busy, it got to the point that we would just jump on a call when they had questions or they really didn't know how to respond to something that was in there. It really streamlined things for us.
Yeah, this is key. Like even some of the new tech that they announced, with the AI bricks, I would still recommend using this once you have something up and running. This is key, because this really helps drive, you're bringing the subject matter experts on the journey with you, which obviously helps out with confidence, because they're seeing the confidence improve.
Yeah. So along that, we did that first evaluation phase, and we went through a couple iterations with the SMEs, and then we had Nick call us up, and he's like, guys, I was really skeptical at first. Again, Chris talked about how, if it gave a bad answer, we started losing confidence. And then after this first round of evaluations, they called us and they were like, we see what you see now. We're excited, we're ready, let's keep going. And mind you, we were still just in the very first product line. And it took us, about 2.5 months to really get going, but to finish out the rest of our huge amount of product lines, it took Chris maybe a month and a half, because again, that flywheel just started. The subject matter experts knew what to do, they were on top of it, they were making it a priority, and we just kept going. But also, AI judges came into play. Are you gonna take that one?
Sure.
Okay.
So, same thing so it's that same thing that I showed you earlier on that one slide. This is all the Mosaic AI framework. So that's why the expected facts were so important to us. What we learned that was interesting about this, though, is while we worked with the subject matter experts and we were doing these sessions with them, and they were going through and saying, is it a good question? Is this a good response? And filling out the expected facts. You know what we found? They weren't making very many changes to the expected facts. They were, very little, if any. So then we got the idea, well, do we really need to involve them at the beginning? So what we ended up doing, we started generating hundreds and hundreds of questions and running it. We could find the holes. We could actually do all this even before we involved the subject matter experts. So then it really shifted things to something where we actually spent most of the time getting the accuracy up, like what, I think it was like up over 70.
Yeah, I had given Chris a benchmark, like we're not doing anything in production with this until it's at least at 75 to 80%. But once AI judges came into play, he got it up to 80%. I'm like, okay, let's go. No better time.
And then what was nice is now, again, with the confidence factor, now by the time we got it in front of actual subject matter experts, it was actually pretty accurate, and then they just help us really refine it at that point.
Yep.
Okay, so this is, if you haven't seen what it looks like when you run an experiment, I just wanted to make sure maybe you got a chance to see this if you haven't seen it yet. So this is us running an experiment. These are all pre-generated questions that the AI synthetically created for us. And you can see there, it does have like an overall score, but then you can have the AI judges do things like what's the correctness, how relevant is your answer compared to the content that was retrieved, safety that you can even add in with this. You can add in your own guidance if you want. Like for us, it's not on here, but Kenan did say, right now we don't want our chatbot to give back pricing. We have a separate system for that. So we've really, I think, put a lot in there to make sure it does not put in pricing. So we do have a custom guideline that we have running that's monitoring to make sure that it does tell us if there's pricing that shows up.
Yeah. Okay, so just to quickly wrap things up, I mean, again, the challenge for the care center was such a high call volume that we really needed to get them something, especially when we have churn. So yes, we brought in the AI assistant, which is live in all product lines today. It is saving them. We're still running the metrics on it. This just happened, end of April that we finished. So average handle time is one of the metrics that we're watching to make sure that handle time goes down.
I think first contact resolution.
First contact resolution is
that
a good
would
one.
be key. That's a really big metric.
Yeah.
Because going back to, if someone's calling in, their chances are they're sitting in their driveway. It's a Wednesday, and they're freaking out because something's not working. They're going camping that weekend, or worse, they're actually camping. So we want to really have that first contact resolution go down.
And we are estimating about 30,000 hours saved and 1.14 million back in productivity costs.
Which I think is cool because that just shows you that I think everyone is kind of, when all this first came out, everyone immediately thought, oh, we're gonna build these AI agents. We're gonna put those out. We won't have to hire people. I feel like this is a really good strategy for us because as soon as we can even say 1 minute a call, that's over 1 million calls. So the cost savings really do add up.
I'm not gonna lie, our CEO asked when we were getting rid of 52 heads in the call center, but it's not happening. They're keeping their jobs. We'll just let.
Yeah, Hypertherm was talking about that.
Yeah,
I know he has the same.
What was really cool is this quote too. Scott runs our care center. What he realized probably in about the second product line that we got live was that he was like, I'm seeing, they have certain lines that don't take quite the same amount of calls, but because these agents are specifically trained on specific product lines, they couldn't just move them around the care center. So he was like, with this AI assistant, now we can start load balancing when these other lines get backed up. You know, we can start, so they're actually thinking about getting rid of all the siloed agents and just having the AI assistant just sit next to everybody.
Which is cool. Like, it is cool to see, like, you build something with something in mind, and then someone else has another idea.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the drafting the email?
Yeah, I was going to say, we had one SME who was just on top of it, and it was crazy because he had only been with the company for like 6 months. You would have thought he was a seasoned tech. But he even started using the AI agent to start writing his emails. Not crazy, but you wouldn't have thought that they would think outside that box. So he had to start composing the emails, again, putting the link to the product manual that the AI assistant was giving them, and just copying and pasting right in. Of course, you know, now we see that as something good and next best action, that is where we're going next, is some of those kind of things.
Yep.
So that is about it. Yep, questions? We will take them. Yes, thank you.